Well, hello, everybody. We are back for part two of Curiosity. This is the creative download hosted by me, Christy Bruneau, and Chelsea Nettleton. Created
Hello.
by creatives, yes, to inspire and encourage others to live in the fullness of their creativity. So let's just pick up. We're going to just jump right back into
Yes.
what we were talking about. And Chelsea, curiosity, you were talking about. You're finding out through doing some of this work in values and in this book that we're reading,
Mhm.
that you really see yourself being in the writer's room. And I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because there's a part of me, we were just talking in the end of the last episode about fear and how scary that can be when you kind of know what you want to do and then but actually doing it. Uh I so in kind of a quick recap, I was chatting with my mom. We finished up Ted Lasso. I won't give anything away for those of you guys that haven't seen it. It's just brilliant writing. We hope that that inspires what we're writing just because the writing is just so good. And I'm talking with my mom about it, and I realized I was getting goosebumps and excited and passionate when I was telling her how a TV series is written, because again, for those of you guys that don't know me, I have my MFA, which is a Master of Fine Arts in TV and film,
Yeah.
specifically in script and screenwriting, because I realized the passion that I have for that kind of storytelling. So I was talking to her and I was getting goosebumps because of how just passionate I was when I was talking about
Yeah.
specifically TV, which was interesting because, again, I thought I was going to film school to, learn how to write for film and direct and produce and that kind of thing. But I ended up realizing how passionate I am and like how much I love TV.
Yeah.
And so I was, talking to her about this and this, that, and the other. And I realized it's not that I want to write for television. And I'm for those of you listening on the podcast and not watching on YouTube, I'm doing massive air quotes because writing for television to me is a very different thing than writing TV that you care about.
Yes.
And
That's it.
and that could be for any art,
Because I
really.
was looking for in our
Yes.
last episode.
Yes. Oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because and again, you can compare that, you can relate that to any art.
More of a creator. So you're more of a TV series creator who also would like to then be the writer in the writer's room
And
because
it's specific topics.
in specific
So to
topics.
so to
Yeah.
specific slash vague topics. I don't know how to word that because it's like talking about what we were talking about at the end of the episode, last episode is like there are definitely things that I cannot write about. I can't be in writers' rooms for a lot of TV that's out there. But if I would give body parts to be in the writers' room for Ted Lasso,
Yeah.
even just to be the assistant, taking the notes and helping bounce ideas. So yeah, so in talking with my mom about Ted Lasso and stuff and the final episode, and I realized I'm like, I want to be not just in a TV writer's room, but I want to be in a TV writer's room for shows like Ted Lasso.
You know why I think? Because you're really a songwriter too.
Yes.
Songwriters are unique people. I just think songwriters, I mean, I'm not a musician, I'm a songwriter. When I
Right.
identify, songwriters feel things and see things in a way that is, I feel like Ted Lasso, that character
Oh, yeah.
represents, even though he doesn't write any songs, he's a coach, but
Yeah.
it's kind of similar. It's like he's a coach, right? So it's like he has this capacity for empathy and compassion and authenticity and like to reach people. And
Yes.
songwriting is kind of what we do want to do, right? And
Yeah.
writers like that. So like being a writer to where I'm here, what I'm hearing you say, and I know because I write with you, is being able to reach people, really reach
Yes.
them,
Yes.
and in a way that's like like expansive, evolutionary, like not just to write,
Exactly.
um,
Yes.
to
It makes
write,
a
which is the
difference.
songwriter side. It's
Yes.
almost like the
Exactly.
melodies unheard. That's why that's why there's the music. All of it goes into a show,
Hmm.
makes the show.
Hmm.
It's not just the writing, right? It's also the music and it's also like the feel of
Yep.
the underground, like, so when we write a song, I'm just going to use this as a song. I don't know why this is coming to me. When we write a song and we're going to do a theme,
Uh-huh.
it's kind of what we're doing in our TV show,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have theme, an
Mm-hmm.
underlying theme, just like Ted Lasso has an underlying theme.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that, it's depth. It has depth.
Yes.
There's reasons behind things that go on TV that if the show is really a good show,
Yep.
there
Yep.
and sometimes it's subtle, but the writers know what they're doing it on purpose. They're putting stuff in on
Yes.
purpose.
Yes.
So there's like it's kind of like writing a film, doing like we saw the John Wick. I'm just going to use this as an
Yeah.
example. On accident, we bought the wrong tickets. We don't go to the movies very much, but lately I've been going to the movies a lot. I watch more TV shows, but
Yeah, same.
we went to see the ballerina,
Okay.
and awful.
Yeah.
There's no plot this is the
Oh,
same
yeah.
plot that we hear and see over and over and over again. They just put a woman in what was the man's role of being this lone wolf, go out and kill everybody. It was so unrealistic. And the music actually was good. I thought
Yeah.
that the score was good. Yeah, but it's like, and the special effects, like blowing stuff up, they want to do, and it probably made some money.
Right. Maybe.
That's not to me like art.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but it's not like,
It's somebody's art, but
I,
it's not
yeah.
our kind of art.
I'm also like an indie folk singer. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, so my own life is going to be an indie folk song, just so
Yeah.
you know.
So if
Okay,
that's not your genre, just
not your
know that.
genre, whatever. Indie folk is different than like I'm just going to be a pop star.
Right.
It's like it's a different feel. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, it's a different type of writing. I think what you're
Yep.
trying to do is something that has meaning and depth, and you're
Yep.
bringing your songwriter, that part of you to it, brings a lot of power actually to your writing.
I think so. And I love that you said that because this is so funny because back before I went to film school, I think I've mentioned, when I was talking about my story, I've moved to Nashville or around Nashville
Yeah.
three different times, right? And
That's probably what everybody told you you needed to do, right? You want to be
exactly.
a songwriter, you need to move to Nashville. Well, I did go to Nashville. I tried it out. I didn't move there. I went there for one weekend. And I
Yep.
was
Yeah,
like,
right, right.
not the place for me. Uh,
Well, yeah.
I'm a California girl, so
Yeah. They say, oh, well, if you want to do music, you have to go to Nashville. If you want to do any kind of music that's not, pop or that kind of thing, because that's typically thought of, for LA. And I was like, oh, and so that for years, I mean, that was in my head. Um, what was interesting though is that the last time I went to Nashville, I was actually debating, okay, I had finished my bachelor's at that point. Do I go on to grad school? Because by this point, I think it had been at least 5 or 6 years that I knew that I wanted to go on to grad school. Yeah, it took me a long time to get through my bachelor's. For those of you guys that haven't heard my story, but I had health issues and stuff. So it took me about 10 years to finish my bachelor's. In that time, I realized, yeah, I mean, I have an excuse, but even if you don't have an excuse, it's totally fine. Like, do what you do.
yeah.
Side note. But I was really trying to decide, do I go ahead and go to film school and go for what at the time, again, thinking I was going to be more on the film side. Do I go to Nashville one more time and make it happen, And so I just find that interesting that I was like, I've been at that crossroads, before. And I ultimately, decided to go to Nashville one more time. Did not work out. I knew in my gut that I wasn't supposed to be going there for whatever reason. I didn't know at the time that it was like, that's just not the way that music is supposed to happen for me, but I had to learn that, I had to figure it out, instead of constantly wondering, oh, should I have? So
Well, yeah,
it kind
that's
of made
part of
it,
the process.
yeah,
The
yeah,
process is you're curious at the time, and it is a curiosity. I'm curious, like if I go to, I'm going to go to Nashville, that's where it is.
right,
That's it. That is the hub of a lot of the music
right.
that is
That
coming
makes
out
a lot
now.
of sense for a lot of people.
So go and the thing I love about Nashville, because I
Mhm.
sounded like I bagged on it. I love how the songwriter
Oh yeah.
connection is there. For
Oh
songwriters,
yeah.
it is an amazing, people are so nice and so kind. And I met with a pretty famous songwriter when I was there, John Hall, who's a friend of mine's like cousin. And he had coffee with me and just like, I mean, it's really a friendly place
Mhm.
to.
It is.
And so it's not that I'm saying, but Tennessee now, and I love actually I love the green of Tennessee. There's so much I love,
Mhm.
but I couldn't live there
Right.
to
And I
do
couldn't either.
music.
Yeah.
And that's like part of the process to get to find out what you really want to do is you do
Yeah.
all these other things and go, I look in the back and go, oh, that's why I was doing all those TV shows.
Yes.
Okay. I remember
Yeah.
saying this is what a conscious thing. I'm going to wait to act until I'm 40 when no one is going to want me to have be in a bikini or take my top off.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I turned 40 and I didn't want to do it. I'm writing. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm a writer. I'm not,
Right.
it's what that's what I was I didn't know I was a writer at 25 when I started doing that, or 19 when I was in that awful B movie. It's like,
Right.
no, that's what I wanted to do. Because everybody's like, oh, but you should be an actor, because I was drawn to it.
Right.
So, but it's like it also gave me, I have a lot of I have quite a bit of experience of being on a TV set.
Right.
I have experience with doing what we're doing,
Yep.
so, as an actor.
Hmm.
So and reading very bad scripts.
Which, you can learn a lot from reading. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was in grad school, and I still do it now, when I see a bad movie, I'm like, man, you can learn a lot from a bad
Yes.
movie or
What
TV
not to
series, what
do.
not to do. Almost more so than you can from a good show, because sometimes it's harder to pinpoint. You just like, it's so damn good.
Yeah.
Oh, which makes me think again, side note for me, I'm like, oh, maybe that's a little passion project. Nope, you know what? I veto that verbiage. I don't know why, but I hate that term, passion project. But maybe that'll be a little fun little side project for
Curious
me.
project.
Curious
Curiosity.
project. I like that. Is I want to kind of study Ted Lasso, like
Yeah.
maybe even episode by episode, season by season, and like, what is it about it that's just so
Well, the
brilliant?
writing is really, I mean, the
Well, I
line.
mean, that's what I mean. Like, what is it about? What is it? Because and I mean, right off, I can tell you things that I already know. But it
Yeah.
would just be interesting to do a deep dive and like really kind of almost break it down, just like we would with active listening for a song. Where
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to the song. For those of you guys that aren't singer songwriters or musicians,
Yeah.
or writers, active listening, because maybe you can relate this to your own art and figure out a way to do it in your own way if you've never thought about this. But like, active listening is you're literally listening to a song over and over, and then sometimes you may pause it and you'll just listen to the first verse, or just the
Yeah.
intro, and then you'll be listening for the specific lyrics. You'll write them down, you'll make notes on it, blah blah blah. So
I think that's a great idea, Chelsea. I think you're coming
for
up with
other artists.
for us. I think we
Yeah.
should read some of the Ted Lasso scripts.
Yeah.
And one of my mom's best friends growing up, who is a screenwriter in Vancouver, her name's Jana Williams. And she was in my life since I was born. They went to high school together. And
Mhm.
so I started taking one of her classes solo because I didn't have my community yet.
Mhm.
And she does suggest that you read. So she
Mhm.
gave me, God, what is the Tom Cruise movie? Um, I had you at
Oh,
hello,
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire. Okay, I know the line, but I couldn't think of.
Right.
So she was like, read that, because I was starting to write my play, because I have a play that's on
Right.
that I never finished, that I have to finish, that I think is more of a screenplay now, but about my
That's a
grandmother's.
longer term project. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's a
going to be
long
done
term.
probably in between as you feel the
Yeah,
pull
it
to it.
is. And
Yeah.
it's very in depth about her life. And she was trying to encourage me not to do my first screenplay. She goes, let's not do that as your first screenplay.
Yeah.
So start to read Jerry Maguire. So I think just to get the lines and the flow and
Right.
so many things that go on with it, right? And I think you're right on something as far as like taking Ted Lasso and looking at, because the character development's so good.
It's so amazing.
And
Like,
yeah,
yeah. And what's so fun to me too, like, again, kind of a little bit of a side note, is just from an artistic standpoint, again, the art doesn't stop when the writing's done,
right.
because if they hadn't, the casting director, who doesn't get credit most of the time. Like people don't realize the importance of a good casting
Oh
director,
gosh, yeah.
a good editor, behind the scenes, putting the actual episodes together, a phenomenal director, because a director, sometimes if you see, this is a fun little fact, if you see an actor that you're like, wow, they're normally a really good actor, but they're not hitting it in this one.
Yeah.
That very well could be the director, and
Okay.
the way they're trying to get the actor to do something is not, it's just not gelling. So
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah. The
but
editors don't get much credit. I just
the
want,
editors
I
don't
mean,
get credit. Yeah. The
and you
sound design.
sound design. I mean, Drew's grandfather was a major editor in Hollywood. I don't know if
Oh,
we've ever
that's right.
talked
I think
about
you told
that.
me that.
Yeah, I mean, he did 30 years. He did Roman Holiday. He did
Oh
Boys from
man,
Brazil. I mean,
perfect.
big time movies.
Yeah.
His name's Robert Swink, and like you, he got the Lifetime Achievement Award, I think, from Cary Grant. Drew got to go and watch him get that.
Wow.
But yeah, they're like not. I mean, editors are such a big part
They're huge. They
of
are storytellers too.
they are storytellers. Yes.
And that's what's interesting. I had a friend actually in grad school, in film school, that he was like, you would, I was telling him, I was like, for some reason I'm kind of drawn to editing. He's like, well, there's no question there. He's like, editing is storytelling too. Like
Yes.
it's just it's kind of like, taking a room and looking at it from a different perspective, but
Yeah.
still the same room, and an editor's going, oh, okay, I'm doing this. And the writer's going, okay, here's what I'm giving you. Here's the room I'm giving you. And the editor's going, ooh, I'm going to take this. And, I love like all the different aspects of the writing process.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that, Christy? We were, let's see.
Going back through Ted
Editing.
Lasso, looking at like revising, or not like
Hey, we're
using.
just being real, y'all. I totally lost my train of thought because I just get so excited.
We got curious.
We got curious.
We
Oh,
got curious.
I think that's where along all those things, long story short, pardon the cliche, phrasing. When I went out to Nashville, realized I'm like, you know what, this just isn't, if music's supposed to be a part of my life, this is not how it's going to happen. Because and I didn't listen to my gut at the time, but now, I mean, I can still, so to speak, feel my gut telling me back then, like, no, this is not the path for you. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that music is a no. This is not the right path for you. So then I moved back and I realized I'm like, okay, I had to decide, do I go to film school? Do I go to Nashville? Can't do both. So I was like, okay, we're doing Nashville first. That's not, I just knew. And I was there for 6 months and I came back home.
Yeah.
And I realized, and I enrolled into film school the very next semester, and I went out. And there's things about it that I wish I'd done differently so that I don't have massive student loan debt, but I don't regret anything about it. Like, it was the right move. The funny thing, talking about you knowing that San Diego was home,
Yeah.
as much as I wanted to get away from Colorado at the time, I grew up outside Denver, and I'm not going to bag on Denver. Denver can be a really cool place for certain people. It was not the right place for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a big city person, which
Yeah.
laugh. I want to be in a TV writer's room, and guess where those are? In big cities. But we'll tackle that when the time comes. But I wanted to be in Durango.
Yeah.
I've wanted to be in Durango since I was a little kid, coming down here to visit. I was born here, and then we moved away, and I wanted to be here forever. Right. So I kind of knew this was my home. I had no idea how the hell we were going to get here, especially then, consider the fact that I really wanted to do TV writing after starting to take some classes. And I did an intensive in LA for
Yeah.
2 weeks in grad school, where we got to kind of experience the writer's room with like legitimate, they're called showrunners, people
Yeah.
that are like executive producers on shows.
Yeah.
And I realized, I'm like, oh my God, that I want to do this. I want to be involved in this world some way, shape, or form. And so I finished grad school, but in the process, met my husband, was not expecting that. Like, I had gotten to the point where I was 30 by the time I basically got into grad school, and I was really happy. I was like, I don't really want to get married. Like, I like my freedom. I like my, it's going to take somebody really special to make me want to get married. And sure enough, I met my husband, and has not been a walk in the park by any means, but I'm living on the East Coast, and all the while knowing this is not my home. This is where I need to be right now, but this is not my home.
Yeah.
So fast forward all of that to, how the hell am I going to be in LA? Knowing that I want to be in a writer's room, like, I love bouncing ideas off people. I love being the bouncer, so to speak, and
Yeah.
helping other people with their ideas. Um, you know, all of that, it just gets me like, just sets me on fire, like gets me so excited. But yet I really feel like Durango is where I'm supposed to be long term.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you know what? Okay, so I'm going to take our own advice, our own encouragement that it's like, you know what? I'm going to dream big. I'm going to throw it out into the world. You know, I I have this vision, almost a real, like, just like what you did with San Diego. You're like, I can see it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to presume that I know the path that I'm going on, but I can't not see this in my head. And in fact, side note, by the way, but before we actually were able to move out to Durango, I had dreams for years. And I think I might have mentioned this before. I had dreams for years about this epic journey to get from, I was on the East Coast,
Yeah.
out to Durango.
Okay.
And in my dreams, a lot of times, whatever vehicle or whatever transportation would break down or crash, and I would get to the point where I had to walk,
Yeah.
but I'd get there.
Okay.
And sure enough, and now here I am in Durango, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's, well, guess what I dream about now? Like, literally
LA.
dream about LA all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
waves, ocean, being in LA, and not necessarily like happy. Like, it's not like a dreamy, like, oh, I'm in LA. Like, in my dream, I remember thinking, like, I'm like, God, this would be hard, but I want to be here.
Yeah. I have to tell you, you're making so I don't think you have to move to we don't think you have to move to LA.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
thing. My cousin, she's actually was married to my cousin, so they're divorced now, but I still call her my
Yeah.
cousin.
Your
She's
family.
an artist. She's very creative, Susan. Hi, Susan. I don't know if you listen. She might be listening to us because I think we're on Instagram and stuff together.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
her
Hmm.
boyfriend is a filmmaker.
Oh,
And
nice.
he did a documentary called The Heart is a Drum Machine, which is really cool. He interviewed it's like how music affects our heart. And he's a musician. I forget the name of
Ooh.
his band. He's like very alternative indie.
Yeah.
She was involved in music in Arizona, like music promotion, and they met
Okay.
that way. But he did another film. I'm blanking on the names of his films, but when they rented a place in LA, and
Yeah.
she lives, they live in Arizona, so
Okay.
they live in Arizona. They do not live in LA,
Yeah.
but come to LA, and a
Yeah.
lot of people do that. I know some other people in the business that live in Santa Barbara or like,
Hmm.
my friend, Mary Murphy, who did Dancing with the Stars. So You Think You Can Dance. I think she's So You Think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, she doesn't. She lives down here. She's like San Diego County. She's not, and she has her ballroom dance studio here and goes to LA, when and stays up there when she would record her TV series.
Hmm.
So it's not like you have to move there, right?
That's the thing. That's
Kind of
what gets me
place
excited.
and that can be part of the contract. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of
Right.
things to do that we would be that we'd
Yeah.
be there, but it wouldn't necessarily mean that we'd have to be there all the time. Maybe the writers' rooms are like this sometimes too, where you're writing on
Oh,
Zoom.
they have to be starting to get like this now.
Yeah.
Well,
After
and that's,
COVID.
yeah, and that's the vision that I have is living here in Durango. It's like an hour flight to LA.
Yeah.
I know a lot. Well, I know of people that live here that have,
Yeah.
big jobs like that they travel,
Yeah.
other places, but this is their home. This is their home base.
Right.
I can't, it's so funny because I'm like, even when we were struggling with, finances and trying to figure out like, how do we afford to even stay here? Because life is expensive in general, but we were really struggling. Was like, well, I don't know where we'd go. I don't want to go anywhere else. And
But we are in San Diego. This is home for me. So it's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive. I'm gonna live here. We're
and
gonna
that's the
figure it
thing for
out.
me. Yeah, and that's the thing for me for Durango is it's like I have to figure it out. And then I add on top of that I think I want to travel to LA to be able to do some of these things. I'm like, could I pick more expensive places to need to go? But for whatever, it's very strong in my head. I picture myself like being a part of
Yeah.
this writer's room, whatever the housing situation looks like. I don't know. But when I went for the 2-week intensive, I was like, we lived there for 2 weeks. We rented an apartment and it was really fun. Like I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. So I'm like, okay, you know what? That is the image that keeps coming to mind.
Yeah.
And before we started on our show, I almost gave the name away again. I'm like, catch myself.
Yeah.
I hope y'all aren't disappointed when we finally do reveal.
I know it's going to be,
I like
we're
making it a
still in
bigger
such the
thing.
beginning process. Like no one's going to
Yeah.
even see it for a long
Yeah.
time, but yeah.
Yeah. But so I'm like, well, if that's what I keep envisioning, especially when I'm trying not to, I'm like, no, I can't. I'm a natural girl. Like I'm a naturalist. I like being in nature, as maybe the better way to put it. Because I know those have different connotations, but I like being in nature, which takes me back to the values, and that's where I was like, oh, as an artist, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. My second value that I highlighted that jumped out of me was nature. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, interesting to think about that from an art. I
But
don't know why, but from an artistic standpoint, that's
yeah,
interesting for me to think about it. Like, oh, I never thought about that like, as an
yeah.
artist, that's a value for me, you know?
You can get to nature pretty quick in California. That's the nice thing.
That
So
is
like you
true.
can be in the city and you
Yeah.
can get to the mountains really quick from LA.
Yeah.
You can get to the ocean quick. You can make
Yeah.
nature a part of your life,
Yeah.
Get to San Diego in 2 hours. You can
Yeah.
jump.
Or
So
maybe I moved to, have the thing in San Diego and we drive
yeah.
to LA together.
Yeah. I mean, I have a friend that works in television and we've talked about him before, Al. I met him actually working on the TV series.
Hmm.
And he's stayed in it. He works in the, behind the scenes and he has a little place in LA. He lives in Texas actually. He's moving back to California, but he's got a place that he rents out from an air like I think it's an ADU that a friend of his
Oh,
has in
sure.
Venice that he just rents out when he goes up there to work, and he
Yeah.
works, short periods of time. He does a lot more commercial work and stuff, but
Hmm.
so that's all a possibility. And I think in terms of like the curiosity,
Hmm.
like that's all I think having that, I love the having that curiosity as an intention
Hmm.
because one of the things that Elizabeth Gilbert talks about is like the difference between the passion and the curiosity. That passion really becomes kind of more of like what you were talking about. Like, well, if you're going to do, you have to suffer, you have to do everything you can to make it
Right.
happen. And it makes it really hard to be creative that way. It makes it
Hmm.
hard to like continue your creativity. I think that's very narrow thinking that
Yes, I
we get
agree.
told. And so we don't really get taught. Some schools do teach this. I did go to UCSD, one of UCSD's graduations for their theater department.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like I wish I would have gone here. They were talking a lot about being who you are, learning how to like take care of yourself as an artist, and this
Yeah.
was the theater department, to work in theater, right? And
Yeah.
I just think that curiosity being part of the intention as opposed to passion,
Yes.
so we can keep it open because it gives you the freedom. And Elizabeth Gilbert has become a bit of one of my like heroes and
Yeah.
creativity in a sense because she kept writing and writing and writing before ever anybody knew her.
Yep.
And Eat, Pray, Love obviously became huge, and like
Hmm.
then the film made it huge. And Big Magic is she's known for that now, like, but she was an artist like us
Hmm.
before that,
She couldn't
writing,
not do it.
writing away. And same with
Hmm.
Stephen Pressfield.
Yep.
His whole story of being all alone in like that little town, like right.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like that's why we're doing the podcast because we're at where we're at, right?
Yep.
And we're making our steps as we go along, as opposed to like if I start letting my passion get a hold of me, and I start comparing myself to like all the other TV writers, all of a sudden I'm like, I can't make it. That's
Yep.
kind of like, or it's so hard. Where if I can keep the curiosity
Yep.
in the moment and in the
Hmm.
intention, the next step of curiosity, it kind of builds on itself for you to get there.
And it's so cool that you say that about passion versus like curiosity, not versus, but passion and curiosity. Because she actually talks about that. She's like, okay, so she talks about basically like when it comes to passion, she's like, that feels like a big that passion equals pressure. She doesn't say that in here, but that's
Yeah.
where my brain just went. I was like,
Yeah.
passion equals pressure almost in some ways where you're like, because that's something I've dealt with since forever. I was like, what am I passionate about? And passion to me makes me think of this big epic thing. My nephew plays football and he is passionate about football
Yeah.
and just about every aspect of it. So he is one that you can say like his passion is football.
Yeah.
But I haven't known, and again, going back to the vulnerability that I was, that I, or the authenticity, the transparency, when I was talking earlier about, I don't know exactly still like what my art is. I know the skills that I have, I know the giftings that I have, but none of them have become anything yet. And I'm not ready to say my passion is, you know, I'm a singer songwriter. Yeah, that's a part of me. And I'm not saying that that having a passion is bad or that being one thing is bad. Like I have so much respect and love and support for Mike Meiers. We talk about him with songwriting for guitar
Mm-hmm.
because he loves writing for sync and teaching people guitar, and that world. And I think that is amazing. And there are a lot of times when I envy people that are like, they've known since they were kids, they wanted to be a teacher. Mike built this business, wanting to teach, his passion for teaching people guitar and songwriting combined in a beautiful way, and but I still don't know what that is for me. So taking the intensity out of passion and using the word curiosity instead, just reading that was so freeing. So I love that Elizabeth Gilbert talks about that too.
There is a
It
lot of pressure with passion.
really is.
And when
I didn't think
someone's
about
very
that.
passionate about something, there's no room for the curiosity of
Right.
like, it's almost like this is what I want, this is what I'm going for, nothing's getting in my way. And that's kind of
Right.
like a theme that we're like taught,
Right.
but
Yeah.
like
Be
the
passionate about something and go after it.
yeah, and like but to get to the curiosity, you're like, okay, you know what it is? Curiosity is another way of saying, okay, universe, this
Yep.
is what I like. I'm
Yep.
curious about it. What do you got?
Yep.
What do you got for me?
Yep.
It's not so much about like the willfulness of passion,
Right.
but
Right.
it's
I
of
will do this no matter what it takes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it takes the willfulness out of it and
Yeah.
it allows a lot more, like you said, it feels so much like there's like relief almost in it, like,
Mhm.
oh, I can just be curious.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have
I don't have to, just because I love singing and songwriting doesn't mean that if I don't pursue that I've failed or that I've not
right.
followed my calling. Because just like with you, like, the fact that you were involved in TV and film way early on and now have found where your love, I don't see use the word passion, where your love and enjoyment of music and songwriting have now combined with what you now realize is a love for TV and film,
Yeah, and
specifically
having a
TV
voice,
and
having
having a voice.
like a voice, like the songwriter part of me is the voice, right?
Yeah.
And so the writer part, so like getting curious about writing. Like, okay, when you and I got together to do this TV series, I remember thinking, well, thank God I took that screenwriting class at UCSD because because I didn't, all I know is I have this idea and I want to write this, and this would be a really good TV series. And I've been talking about doing it for years.
Hmm.
You're like, hey, let's do this. I've been thinking about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, I didn't have to go to film school.
Right. Yeah.
I'm learning through you. Not that I
Right.
shouldn't have. I mean, I did take a
Right.
screenwriting class, and I
Right.
took the screenwriting class because I had this same thing happen when I was writing songs.
Hmm.
I would write these songs, I'd be like, and I would get up and I'd perform them. And then I'd be like, this is not really, I'm trying to write a play.
Hmm.
And I had no idea this song is a story that needs more.
Hmm.
But I'm trying to make it a song because that's the only avenue I know right now.
Right. Right.
And so then I knew, oh no, I'm writing a play. I
Yeah.
mean, it was downloading.
Yep.
Going back to the download, it was downloading in me, and I was trying to do it in a song version.
Yep.
And so then I took the class at the screenwriting class just to learn how to format it because
Yeah.
I didn't know how to put it into, I had it all going on, but I'm like, I don't know how to like make, so my goal
Yeah.
was,
Learning the tools to get it down.
yeah. And I'm like, I
Yep.
don't even know what to do after this. Like, I just know I need to write this. And that's not even done yet because
Right.
I don't even, it's not supposed to be done yet, I guess.
Right. You know, I don't, yeah. And I think you know that it's like, okay, these are the things, you know, that's like I have this novel in my head that has literally been swimming, if you will, which is funny because there's water involved, swimming around my head for over a decade, you know, but I get these little snippet downloads. I think I've mentioned that before too. Like I get these little snippet downloads that I write down, but it's not really necessarily time to actually, you know, focus on that full go, you know, and that's okay. Some projects are going to be like that. There's songs that I had started over a decade ago, and I'm trying to remember the title of it. And I can't remember which one it was, but I started it over a decade ago. Well, okay, so for example, My Happy Ever After, my song that came out in
Yeah,
February. Um,
it's a great song.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wrote that in 2010, rewrote it, you know, last year or at
Yeah.
the beginning of this year. Can't remember which one. You know, so it wasn't done, you know, and it was totally like set on a back burner. And I thought it was done, but then I didn't, you know, do anything with it. And so I just find it interesting that it's like, oh, okay, now it's done. Like, you know.
Yeah, that's how art is. I mean, I feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
how being creative is. It's not always about like it's not a product, it's not product. I mean, sometimes we are creating a product. Like we are wanting to do, the
Right.
reason of the TV series is that so that people can experience it, people can watch it, and and we're driven for some reason to do that, to
Mm-hmm.
write this, right?
Yep. Very.
So it will become a product
Mm-hmm.
at some point, but it's not being written for a product.
Right. Right. That's not how it
Written in
started.
a
That's not,
different,
yeah.
yeah, it's written in a different way. I really love Rick Rubin's views on this kind of the creative act, I think is the name of his book. I've listened to it and I think his views of being creative are kind of along the lines of what we're talking about, where when
Nice.
that I don't want to go be a writer in a writer room, just in any writer room in LA.
Right.
You know, I want to do something meaningful. I want to do something that's true to my values. And I think when we narrow all that down and we really know who we are and what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and like, oh, and we can say no when
Yeah.
things come to us
Yeah.
that don't feel right because we have developed this like understanding of what's right for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were told to like reach out to somebody who's like taking scripts right now, and I was like, not doing it.
Yep. Not going to be the right
I
fit.
wouldn't do it because
Yep.
it's not in alignment.
Right.
And so it's okay to do that. And when we do that, I feel like it just, the universe starts like putting you in that right direction because you're aligning with what the universe wants you to do. And our path might not be the same path as some other people.
Right. And I think that's what's so neat about it too is like, okay, so going, let's say, you know, we're going back to curiosity, right? So from what I've read in here so far and the inspiration that I've taken from it and the download that I've taken from Eve's book, and I can't remember if we've mentioned it again in this episode. I know we talked about it last one. So Find Your Unicorn Space by Eve Rodsky. So that's the book that we're kind
Yeah,
of
we kind of
going to start
carried
working
on and didn't
through.
say it again. Yeah. So that's,
Yeah. So we're
yeah.
talking about curiosity. And one of the beautiful things about curiosity is oh God, how do I word this? It's like my brain is going in like 4 or 5 different directions. The beautiful thing with curiosity is that it allows, just like you talk about with the song, letting the song come through, it lets the art come through. And so for me, okay, so looking at our TV series, I go very specific and I realize I want to be in a TV writer's room for a show like Ted Lasso because that does fit my values. You know, I'm not going to go the traditional path. And I think I mentioned that in the first part of this, you know, in the last episode on this topic. I'm not going to go the traditional path. I can't. Like I physically can't. I deal with Well, I shouldn't even say that I deal with anxiety. I realize now that's probably actually my intuition, my gut in a lot of ways
Yeah.
that, there are certain things that I'm like, no, I'm getting major anxiety about that. That's not what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it used to be that it was like, oh, well, I'm just weak. I'm fail. I can't do this. Now
Yeah.
I'm realizing I'm like, no, 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 no. There's a good chance that that's your inner voice, telling you
Yes.
that's
Ooh,
not the
that's an
right path.
important part. That's
Yes.
important.
Because
Yeah.
that's been a battle for me my whole life, and I used to think that there was something wrong with me. I got homesick when I was a kid, up until I was like 12. I couldn't even stay at my best friend's house,
Yeah.
and I would go over there all the time to play, but staying overnight, there was something about it, right? So that same kind of feeling of anxiety, that same feeling hits me when there's things that's like, nope. My girlfriend and I we were planning a girls trip, and we thought we were going to go to one place in New Mexico, and I realized we were going to try and go to Santa Fe because it's only a couple hours from here. And after we decided that we were trying to decide between there or Ouray, which is a really cool spot here in near to Durango, for those of you guys that don't know where it is, beautiful mountain town. And for whatever reason, like I just got this very strong, like we may go to Santa Fe at some point. She's been there before, I haven't, but I was just like, and thankfully I've got a relationship with her, just like with you, where I can
Yeah.
say, you know what, I don't feel like this is the right thing. So I messaged her and I was like, I'm so sorry, but I don't feel like Santa Fe is where we're supposed to go for our trip. And this is just a, quote unquote silly, simple, we're just trying to get out of town and have a
Yeah.
girls' weekend. But my gut is still telling me, don't go to Santa Fe. And I don't know why. Who knows why? But
Yeah.
but I'm like, and she's amazing because she's like, okay. She's like, I wasn't decided
Yeah.
one way or the other, so let's go to Ouray. And I'm like, and I have so much more like, okay. And I'm learning to listen to that. And I think that's another thing about curiosity is,
Yes.
okay, when do you listen to that inner voice that or maybe you're learning to know, versus, okay, you're just afraid and it's time to put on your big girl pants or big boy pants or big they them pants, whatever,
Yeah.
whoever you are, put on your big pants and walk out, even in the middle of the fear of it, walk out in boldness and go do it. you know
Yeah.
that's a hard balance, but that's where curiosity can really help because, okay,
I like that idea of putting
curiosity,
that
am
together.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, is this my inner voice warning me away from something for whatever reason? Could be something as, teeny tiny, could be something huge, versus no, I am genuinely just afraid, but I know that I need to move forward.
Yeah.
you know
There's a difference.
there's a huge difference.
And that I
So
think you get better at with self-reflection.
mm-hmm,
Me, I get better at doing that. I have spent
mm-hmm.
most of my adult life learning how to self-reflect because I
Yeah,
talked about being in working a 12-step program, which
yeah,
there's 12 steps are available in anything you want. They
yeah,
like it is a design for living the way you're talking about, where
yeah,
you learn how to listen to your intuition,
mm-hmm.
you learn how to discern between
Yep,
what is your intuition and what is like fear and what your feelings are talking to you and telling you to do.
yep,
And when we do that, I feel like yes, we get less anxious. I mean, anxiety is a part of life. It's a
yeah,
natural feeling to get.
yep,
But like I'm a Jungian, right? Like I believe in Carl Jung's theory of looking within,
yep,
checking in with yourself, not taking on everybody's problems, but looking
right,
into like, why am I feeling so much? And being curious
yeah,
about why. Maybe you're being curious about what your intuition is telling you about this or not, and learning how to listen to your intuition. And that voice is loud. It does get loud. We all know it. We all have it. Like
right,
it's an inner voice that tells us if something's right or not. And there
yep,
are some people, I do believe, that get so far away from that.
yeah,
The channel gets so blocked off, they really can't hear it
yeah,
without being the life like smacking them,
right,
And even then, they're willful,
right,
that does happen.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like with curiosity, just that intention of curiosity. Like, I'm curious now that we're having this conversation, what is going to unfold as we go forward? Because right now, with speaking about the TV series, because we've been talking about it a lot,
Mm-hmm.
we're right at the place where we're getting some contracts drawn up for you and I, and contracts to get ready to hand it over to some people, maybe a showrunner and a couple other people who are in the business to say, what do you think of this?
Mm-hmm.
These are our ideas that we want to do. And to be curious about that.
Yep.
Curious about what they say about it. Be
Yeah.
curious about who they are. Be curious about what is right now current. What are people looking for?
Yeah.
I'm curious also about music and television right now
Mm-hmm.
because it's really changing right
Mm-hmm.
now from some of the music supervisors we listen to. They're just it's shifting a little bit, and I'm very curious now of how that's going to come out. So I think having even that. I'm getting a good takeaway from this in the sense that, like, I'm going to the PMC, the Production Music Conference,
Yeah.
in October in LA. And a lot of that is meeting the music supervisors, meeting the television part of music, which is what I love now. I'm loving learning about this.
Yeah.
And to take that intention of curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
being curious about who these people are I'm going to meet.
Mm-hmm.
What are they? What are their interests? What are they into? What is it that's going on? Like that curiosity,
Well, and
as
I think we
opposed to
can.
what are they going to like me? Are they going to like my song?
Exactly, versus the validation
Yeah.
that we sometimes still need as artists and used to really need, and but we've grown and changed. I think we can blame curiosity too for how we met, because
Yes.
I was curious about, I had started hearing about coaching for songwriters, and I was like, ooh. And I tried a couple, different areas. I dipped my toe in, going, oh, maybe I could work with her or them, and I tried, and I was like, no, it's not quite the right fit, but I didn't stop, looking.
Yeah.
And that's when I found Mike, with songwriting for guitar. And for me, I mean, he, like, not everybody's gonna click with him, and obviously his time is limited too, so he may not be able to work with everybody, but he clicked and was the exact perfect fit for me. So then fast forward to some of the other things that he started doing, and then we ended up in, we got curious about, what, this coffee thing that him and then Judy Stakee, who you knew more of and
Yeah.
I knew more of Mike, they got curious and were like, hey, what would this look like if we did this, like, every week, online coffee thing for, like, our songwriter, singer songwriter friends who want to do this, and it was a small group. And then we met, and our curiosity about each other, like, oh, I don't know if we have anything in common, but hey, there's something about that person that I'm like, oh,
Yeah. We
Christy and
connected.
I need to
Yeah.
connect,
Yeah.
and so we allowed that curiosity, it's basically like that curiosity. Again, I'll relate it to the, it gives us freedom to explore and open, like, allow doors to be open to at least see what's there and
Yeah.
see if it's the right door to go through, versus, I know that I'm supposed to be in music and I'm going to go the route that the world says. I'm going to be a performer and I'm going to, write, and I'm going to bust my ass and I'm going to tour and be a starving artist if I have to, but I've known before I even tried starting, like, before I even tried starting to do music, that just, I knew in my gut that was not the right path for me.
Yeah. Well,
You
me
know?
too. Like it's funny. When I was teaching fourth grade, I had finished my second album. I had really struggled on getting my teaching credential versus going
Mm-hmm.
into to do music, but everything I'd look into in music, it didn't feel right. And
Yep.
then right after I like realized like I really just want to write songs and I got asked if I wanted to submit music for this independent film. And I said, great. And it turned out that they needed this artist in this, like I was in the show. So I was in the show as the songwriter in the bar scene or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Again, back into the like TV thing, and that like really sparked like, oh, wait a second. There's this way of doing music, but that was like a long time ago. And I really didn't understand like how to do it
Yeah.
because it was like accidental. I literally was like, and nothing's by accident. It was
But it
universally
felt like it.
okay.
Yeah.
It felt very accident. I didn't
Yeah.
seek to do it. It was like it came to me and
Mm-hmm.
I just said, sure. And I actually gave him both of my CDs, thank goodness, because the first one I did wasn't as good as the second one, in my opinion, but both songs that he chose for the film. This is another thing. Songwriters, you do not necessarily know what is good.
Yes.
He chose two songs I never would have chosen
Yep.
for the film that fit for the film
Mm-hmm.
and for my first CD. not from the one I had just done. I was really surprised. I'm like, what happened? These are so much better. But anyway, and then I sang an original song live during the show, and it was like that was a magical moment. Like I was like, wow, this could all go together because like I
Mhm.
had not done that TV shows and music together yet.
Yep.
Fast forward to now, I'm like, oh yeah, no, it all does go together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would have not done it then. In
Uh-huh.
fact, so I love reflecting because I reflect a lot when we talk.
Uh-huh.
About 2.5 years ago, I got a check in the mail for $25 for my songs on Spotify, right? I do nothing with them.
Uh-huh.
And I got, huh, I do nothing with these songs.
Yeah.
Maybe I should look at trying to do music different. Like
Yeah.
that was like the thought.
Right.
And then I got invited. So it's weird how so that's a curious thought, right? It's not necessarily like a conscious, I'm going to be curious, but it's a curious
Right.
thought. Not too long after that, I get invited to a music meetup
Mhm.
group. And it's Dave DTO. He's actually very famous in the yoga world because
Oh,
he does
nice.
all this yoga music and he's great and he does coaching. He's like he put it together and he's a producer and stuff. He lives in Costa Rica. He's a great guy with another gal songwriter, Asia Lee, who I've known for a long time, and then a couple other people, one girl doing sync, another guy doing like hip hop. And all we did was get together like once a month, and Dave kind of talked to us about the new way of doing music right now, what's
Yeah.
happening. And I felt like I'm like, so this is crazy,
Hmm.
you know. But this check came in the mail, and I was like, okay. So then I started talking to him. I paid him to coach me a little bit because I just was like, I needed to transition into the old way of doing music.
Hmm.
And I wasn't even going to, I was not even, I had put Judy Stakee's retreat on my, like a vision board 5 years before.
Hmm.
And then that year I decided I was going to apply. And I did. But I never heard back. And I was in a coaching session with Dave, and he's like, he brought up, oh, your songs are very Nashville. You should come out to Nashville. And I'm like, oh, no. And my
Hmm.
response was, because I don't want to get on a stage by myself with a guitar anymore and play. Like, that's not what I want to do.
It's not what I want to do either. Yep.
And so I'm like, I can't go to Nashville. I don't want to go to Nashville.
Right.
And I realized at the end of our session, like, oh, I've learned how to like when I'm blocking myself off. And I said, look, I said, I've submitted to this retreat. I might have talked about this story before, and I haven't heard back. It's in Nashville, but I don't, feel like that's like my path anymore. And he's like, well, did you follow up with her? I go, well, no. And he goes, okay, when we get off, you need to follow up. And
Hmm.
boom, boom. I was like in the retreat, met Judy, started figuring out like, oh, well, I don't really have to do it. It's been a slow unfolding,
Hmm.
but it started from being like curious, like, oh, I wonder if I
Hmm.
can do this differently. I liked being able to like work on that film
Hmm.
and be in that. In fact, the movie, The Materialist, what's her name? There's a scene, and it totally brought me back to what it was like the scene I was in, where there's a songwriter in the background of the bar, or it's a wedding. They're at a wedding, I think, and she's singing. She's got like 3 or 4 songs on the soundtrack, and her band's playing, and they kind of pan through her. She's like a part of it, but not like in it. And that's like exactly what happened for me. I was like, yeah, that is like the coolest thing to combine them. Where it's just not like it's not all performance in the way that we've always performed music.
Hmm.
It's bringing it into more than just being going to see the band play, which is great. I love to do that too.
Right. Right.
But to me, it was so much more lively to have more
Mhm.
going on and being in the
Yeah.
film and all of that. So,
Yeah. Well, and the curiosity allows for things that now exist that really didn't, so to speak, exist, right? So for
right.
us, I mean, in our world, I would consider that sync music because it's not that it didn't exist before, but it was like there were gatekeepers
Yes.
because of lack of technology and lack of ability to,
Yes.
email stuff and, I
Yeah,
mean,
you couldn't. When I
so
was in that
yeah, when
film,
we were kids,
yeah.
yeah, and when we were kids or growing up, I mean, yeah, we're a little bit a couple years apart, but But around that same time,
Yeah.
we never would have thought of music, because I've known since I was a kid. And I think we talked about that too. We've both known since we were kids that we loved music and loved singing and had some sort of writer, in us.
Yes.
But we didn't. There was literally no like, no school counselor was like, oh, okay, so you want to be a sync writer. Like that didn't
Yeah.
exist
Yeah.
really, and now it's such a feasible, you have to do the work, but it's a feasible because somebody got curious about how can we make this more accessible because it's going to make our film and TV better if
Yeah.
we have more options rather than the
Yeah.
same old, and I just, oh, so I think I have a feeling that we will be talking about more about curiosity. But I'm like, oh my gosh, again, like we're already running with like time. So I think I think this is a
Yes.
perfect place to end. I wanted to share um, my last value real quick. And if that's okay,
Oh, yes.
Chrissy, then
Yes.
we'll just
And
kind of
then
end
list
on
all three
that.
of them. So share your last one and
Yes.
say all three again. Okay.
Yeah. So I find that interesting. So I told you guys nature was the second one that popped up for me. So authentic, I just find it interesting. Like I read through the whole list and then kind of went through and I was like, okay, authenticity hit me first. Even though it's in the A's, it still would have hit me first. The second one that hit me was nature. The third one was fulfillment.
Oh,
And I
yes.
find that
That's
so
but that's not on the
interesting.
other list, I don't think. Okay,
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
fulfilling.
and I bet there's probably so you guys out there, I mean, you don't have to get the book. You can Google, and search, values checklist, and find something similar that will help you get to that,
Yeah.
at least the general idea. But I was like, oh my gosh, and that makes so much sense because going back to talking about like Ted Lasso and those kinds of shows,
Yes.
when my mom and I were talking about it today after we finished the last episode of the series, and thank God they have a season 4. I'm like, that just tells you how good the writing was. They wrote
Yeah.
it to be 3 seasons. That's why
Okay.
the one reason that the writing is so good because they knew where it was going to end, or so they thought. But everybody was so moved by it and just wanted more that they were like, okay, we're bringing on to season 4. Um, so we were talking about it, and I was like, what's amazing about it is, the character development and how. Oh, I know what it was. How I worded it to her was, it's a TV show, right? Like it's just, it drives me nuts when people bag on, oh, I don't watch TV. I don't have time for that. They act like it's a bad thing. And it's like, yes, can you watch too much TV? Yes. Can
Yeah.
you live in another world when you should be living in your world? Yes. But Ted Lasso is a prime example of something that's entertainment that has just a massive impact. My mom does not cry at movies or like TV or film. She never cries. Like it's just she's a very sensitive, emotional person in real life, but for whatever reason, she does not cry unless something happens to an animal. That's just how she's wired. Animal or child.
Yeah.
She cried 3 different times in one episode alone
Yeah.
because it hit her. And I was like, oh, so I look at my third value, fulfillment, and I immediately go there. I'm like, that's the kind of entertainment that I want to do because it's not just entertainment to me. I'm not just entertaining somebody. I want to make a difference. And I know that sounds like I'm trying to make it sound like a novel idea. Obviously, most artists are like that. But when you finally like really accept it for yourself that you
And
want to
what's
make a
fulfilling
difference.
to you, it might be different than what's fulfilling to someone else.
Exactly.
So that's where it makes it's not the same. It's your value.
Exactly.
It's not, it's going to be in that's your lane. That's why it's like your space, right?
Yeah.
Not so much like someone else's space. Like, so what's fulfilling to you, what nature you want to be in, and what's your, and
Yep.
authenticity and who you are. So it's
Yep.
very specific to you,
Yep.
and that's like the beautiful part,
Yeah.
I love that.
And now I'm going to get curious. And I'm thinking maybe the next episodes we'll talk about some of the things that she talks about, as far as like, okay, let yourself be curious. And she gives a couple different exercises. One of them is the values checklist. But I just think it'd be interesting. We'll kind of go through some of those, and talk through those like from maybe our lives. And but I would encourage you guys find some sort of value checklist, some sort of list of values and do the same thing. If there's no guidance on it, then pick the top 3 that speak to you the most.
Yeah.
And maybe don't even worry about crossing out the bottom three, just focus on the top three that really speak to you. Don't think too hard about it, kind of doing what's your automatic reaction, and then be curious about those. Because for me, I'm like, oh, okay, authenticity, nature, fulfillment. So those are my top three, at least and I love how she puts it. She's like, at this stage in your life,
Yeah, because it could
these
change.
are, yes, because it will change.
And it'll change. That'll change. Yeah.
Now, honestly, authenticity and nature for me probably will not change. They may change. Something else may jump ahead of them, and become a little bit more important at certain times. But
yeah.
So I'm going to be intentional, like we've talked about. I'm going to be intentionally curious. What does that look like? Because if I desperately know and want to be know that I want to and need to be in a writer's room, hopefully for our show, if not another show like it, how do I do that when these are my values? Okay, I'm going to get curious. I'm not going to put myself in a box, and same thing with y'all's art. Don't put yourself in a box. Get curious about your art. There may be a totally different path. Art therapy is a thing now.
Yeah.
That is a degree that you can get. That did not exist, 10 years ago? Maybe it's existed for a while. I'm not as familiar with that, but I know my adopted niece, she really, well, my friend's daughter, my niece, my daughter, she wants to be an art therapist. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And she knows that as a 14-year-old, I'm like, wow, sorry, she just turned 15. But that didn't exist.
We have in our world, I think.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah. So we'll end there. Thank you for letting me wrap up with my values. We would love to hear what you guys find. We'll try and post something so that you can respond in the post. What were your top 3 values? What were you surprised by that? We'd love to hear what you guys see from that exercise. And if here's the thing too, is if you're scared to even do the exercise, because it's just ooh, I'm way back at the kind of the beginning of figuring out, allowing myself to explore into creativity and art. Yeah, that's okay. Post that.
Yes. Woo. Yes. And I think what would be really fun is that when we meet next, not for our download, but to write.
Yes.
That we bring that to the beginning of our session.
I think that sounds great.
We're going to be curious. We're going to put that intention and put in those values and discuss our values, our top 3 values too.
I love it.
Authenticity is one of mine as well, and creativity. And I don't remember my third one. I have all 5 written down, but I think that would be a great way to implement that into our writing.
Yeah.
And then see what happens, because we're getting a little bit further along now to be almost wrapped up, like I said earlier, to go out and start pitching it to people. And so I'd like to, great way to get that ready.
Yeah. So true.
We have that intention, and we've created together, we can create that together for the show.
Yeah.
And that we're writing, so that when we go out to meet people, we know whether it works or not. And we'll just keep going in that direction. I love this so much. I love that we did this. I hope everybody enjoyed it and
Joy loves it too. For those of you guys that aren't watching on YouTube, my dog.
Yes.
She's been in here the whole time.
Yeah. Becca's been running back and forth. I don't know if you heard her, but thanks so much for listening again, you guys.
Thank you guys.
Download, hosted, and produced by me, Christy Bruneau, and Chelsea Nettleton. And of course, edited by Chelsea. And we will see you guys next time.
All right. Bye, Christy. So good to see you.
Bye.